Owned. Owned. Can you say it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear the burn?
Now, this isn't actually the car that I'd pick as my first choice,
Now,
but
this isn't actually the card he would pick as his first choice, but it's the card I'm going to pick to compare it to the 27-inch iMac because it's as cheap as I need it to be to make it work.
I'm just actually trying to show some of the Mac users that this system is going to be able to kick the crap out of a $2,400 Mac.
Oh my God. Are you serious? A system with a $65 graphics card is going to be able to kick the crap out of a 27-inch iMac with a 4850? Are you serious? Then what the fuck are you talking about? Macs can't game. How can a PC with a $65 graphics card kick the shit out of an iMac 27-inch with a 4850, but iMacs can't game? Macs can't game. You are fucking talking in circles. Talking in complete circles.
Pro when we get done with it.
And not only does he say it could beat the iMac, he says it could beat the Mac Pro, which you can option put a 4870 in.
It's a low voltage card, only requires 300 watts, just like my 9400 GT is a low voltage
9400 GT. Really?
version. Some of them are actually going to require 450 watts for those, you know, like the 9800 GTs, and the GTXs might even require 500 watts. I don't know, I've never really priced them and looked at the specs on them. But that little RAID controller card I've got, as you can see, is $29.99, $30.
Now he's including the RAID controller. What the hell? An iMac is a consumer machine. I'm not comparing the iMac to a fucking editing station. You know? That ain't a Xeon chip you got in there if you're trying to compare it to the Mac Pro. Does it have gigabit Ethernet? Does it? Does it have 4 internal hard drive bays? Can it take up to 32 gigs of RAM? Is it a Xeon, Nahel? I don't think so. You're comparing apples to oranges, you stupid fucker. No offense. So let's stick it on task. You're pushing this video to me about my 27-inch iMac video, yet you're comparing it to a Mac Pro, it says in your title. I don't understand, man. You're just going in all directions.
Adequate for what we need to do, because that motherboard that I picked out actually doesn't have onboard RAID, and I'd actually prefer motherboards not have onboard RAID, not have FireWire, not have onboard audio. I'd rather actually get the cards myself.
He'd rather get the cards himself, of course he would, because he's got so many PCI slots that he can spare for that type of shit, because he's got an editing station.
And install them. That is why I've actually switched to micro ATX cases or micro ATX motherboards as opposed to ATX motherboards, because I don't really ever fill all the slots anymore. Don't get me wrong, folks. Back in 1998, 99, even in 2000.
Back in 98, you know, back when, you know, things were really smoking.
I would fill all those slots, but as of right now, today, with the networking port, FireWire port, and all that being added in already, you don't really need all those slots that you once.
Now he's just gibbering about I don't know what.
That you once did, although I would prefer it, like I said, that way.
See, look here. Western Digital, 7200 RPM, hard drive. Let's see, bare drive, $59.99. Can we move on with it, please? It says he's got 5 of them.
Once again, where you didn't have all
5 of them. Are we comparing an iMac 27-inch? Are we talking about my video here? Because you addressed me at the beginning. Because 5 internal hard drives, what the fuck, man?
All that stuff already integrated.
This is nothing like an iMac.
Now I want people to see that for the CPU, I've took an Intel Core i7, the 860 Linfield at 2.8 gigahertz. It's not a 2.66. It's actually a little bit higher on clock speed. Now some people are probably going to say, well, that's not the Xeon. It's not the Xeon. I don't care.
It's not. And of course, he don't care if it's not the Xeon, because a true editing station works on a fucking gaming motherboard or a consumer motherboard. Don't you dare tell me the Core i7 isn't a consumer board, because it is. As far as I'm concerned, it is.
I don't care if it's not the Xeon. Like I said, you look at 1998,
I don't care if it's the Xeon. Let's look back 15 years ago. Let's look back 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
1999, did you see any of the Pentium 3 Xeon branded CPUs out benchmarking, you know?
Did we see any Pentium 3 Xeon out benching the consumer chips? We're talking about 1998 here, man. The relevance being, wouldn't it make board sense to talk about something a little closer to our decade?
The consumer counterparts by any more than like 5, maybe 10% at best. Same would hold true back.
Let me stop you right there. If you're a true video professional, that 5-10% means the world to you, because time equals money. And 10% time savings over a period of 365 days is huge. I might be able to end up getting another extra project or two in during the year if I can save 5 to 10% of time on every project. I thought you was a video professional and you understood these kind of things.
Back in like 2004, the Pentium 4s, you know, for consumers versus the Xeon branded ones. So, you know, some people might say, well, it doesn't have 12 networking ports like some of the Xeon-based motherboards. It doesn't take ECC RAM. It's not bulletproof. I don't care about...
He don't care about all that shit. I don't care if it's bulletproof. I don't care if it has all these extra things. This PC that don't have all that shit and isn't bulletproof and is inside this $30 case, it's just as good as those computers that are. Do you see how stupid you sound?
What this system can't do compared to the counterpart, to the Xeon counterpart, folks.
It's not all about performance. It's about build quality, too. You just don't get it, man. You just don't get it.
I only care about this thing being a good video editing system and a good graphic design system. And
for what? Independent use?
It will indeed be just that. Now, when we look at the RAM, I got 4 sticks of this Crucial RAM.
4 1-gig sticks. 4 1-gig sticks. Are you serious? I would have to take up every slot in my machine if I use 4 1-gig sticks. No wonder you're getting 4 gigs for 90 bucks. You know, let's get 2 gig sticks at least so you can stick more RAM in the fucker. You know, how many RAM slots does this thing have? You know? How many more does it have? You've already got 4 filled here, so how far could you expand this thing if you already got 4 of your RAM slots filled up without removing and wasting some of the RAM you already got in there?
1 gig, so we're only going to get 4 gigabytes of RAM, as you can see, at $91.
Because that's all you need for a professional editing station is 4 gigs of RAM, the minimum that Final Cut Studio recommends. Well, I shouldn't say the minimum they recommend, but they do recommend at least 4 gigs of RAM. They say it will run on less than that, but they recommend at least 4 gigs. So you're walking right on the borderline there, buddy.
Now, why did I only take 4 gigs? Shouldn't I spend an extra 40 bucks and get more RAM? Some people say, well, 4 gigs, I've actually got 1 more gig than the Mac Pro will have at $24.99, folks. That is true. And that graphics card is a GT220, not a 120 like on the Mac.
So again, we're comparing this to the Mac Pro or the 27-inch iMac, because you called me out on my 27-inch iMac video. This I don't understand. If you want to compare a custom build to a Mac Pro, I can make a separate video for that. This one is addressing the 27-inch iMac.
For I think like $15 more, I could have got 750. For $15 less, I could have got 500 gigabyte drives. When you're buying 5 of them at a pop, as you can imagine, that can really switch the price from had I gotten 500 gigabyte drives.
4 drives stripped for high sustained data transfer rate. Got to have 4 drives rated together, but he can cheap out on a $65 graphics card.